What's up, y'all? It's me, Master of Thought. I'm back again with Conversations with Master of Thought. I'm in a very special place today. This has been a longtime friend of mine, mentor, artist. She's pretty much a queen of many talents, and just give some of her background. She's worked on things like Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the show Trauma. For us older people, Nash Bridges, I believe. Is
Oh,
also,
yes.
yeah. So pretty much any movies and shows that are going on here in the Bay Area, this woman has been on. And I'm really excited to introduce to the world one of my really good friends, Andrea Devaux.
Hi, everybody.
And I know I kind of just ambushed you and not really told you what we're going to be doing, but I just want you to kind of let these people know where you come from, how you got into where you're at now,
Hmm.
the life that you've lived, maybe some of the travels you've had. We've had great conversation many
Hmm.
times, and I want other people to know about them.
Got it. Okay. Well, gosh, my beginnings were from starting in New Zealand. I grew up in New Zealand and um, lived there for the most part until I was 17. And when I was 17, I got a scholarship to be a Rotary Exchange student.
Mm.
And this was huge for me because I had, to be honest, I had very strict parents. And I'd been at boarding school for 6 years. That had been sort of a way to kind of just
Yeah.
be
Hmm.
away.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was sort of that was ending, and I was like, I need a plan. so, so I got a scholarship from my hometown with Rotary International, and I was sent to Canada for a year, Winnipeg. Yes.
See,
Yeah.
already something I did
You
not
didn't know
know
this.
you were
You
ever.
don't know.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
So you asked for my life, so
Yeah,
you better
yeah,
you have
totally,
how much
totally.
time do
Oh,
you
we got time. We got time.
So they sent me to Canada, Winnipeg, Canada. So I went from a New Zealand summer to a Canadian winter, which was no joke. Average temperatures in Winnipeg in the winter is minus 40.
Yeah, I can't do that. No.
Yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
In fact, most people don't realize this, but minus 40 is the same in Celsius as it is in Fahrenheit. It's
I've
like
heard
that's
of
when
this, but that doesn't make sense to me. How does that even?
it's it I'm not good at physics and all of that, but that's what I do know. It's sort of like where they meet, and yeah, it's cold. Here's how cold it is. The water on your eyes starts to freeze.
Oh,
you
no,
know
I don't need that.
yeah, no,
Mm-mm.
exactly. So anyways, it was an amazing experience. Made friends from all over the world who were also exchange students. Made some really great friends there, and then came back, and I had plans to work in radio, and I wanted to do something with my voice. But I met a woman who was doing voice classes and theater, and I decided to study with her voice and theater. So I trained to be an actor, and doing side jobs all the time. So once I got through my studies, and this is pretty common in New Zealand. You're so far away from everything that's going on anywhere else
Yeah.
that I decided I wanted to see the world. So I bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco, and met who was then to be my girlfriend, and she and I ended up traveling around the world together for 5 years by bicycle. So
I know a few of these
you know,
stories.
you know
Yes,
some of
totally.
that, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, went back. There was a lot that happened. We traveled in the Middle East. We were in Africa. We were in Asia, and with some harrowing stories. But we'll save that for another show.
Yeah.
Did end up coming back to New Zealand, and long story short, ended up immigrating to the United States, and this was back in 1989.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I've lived here in the U.S. for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When I moved here, I was working in theater, which was my training. I was working as a stage manager, and also then became a company manager for one of San Francisco's longest running stage shows. Was working in the box office. Theater doesn't pay, which is why I actually ended up transversing over to film, which pays better.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so theater. It's a lot of hours, and that's great when you don't have children. But when you, I think I managed to segue into becoming a script supervisor, which is continuity.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my first daughter. So at that time, let me see. I'm trying to weed out what
okay.
might be
That's
interesting and what not might.
Everything's interesting though. I want you to understand, like, there's no, we're not on any kind of like schedule. It's like whatever you want to talk about. I want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So worked in theater for a while in San Francisco. Segued into film production. I was a casting director for many years. I ended up getting my first script supervising job. My then husband at the time was reading a book on script supervising, right? And I was looking over his shoulder as he was reading this book, and because you have to basically have your eyes on a lot of things all at once. For your audience that doesn't know what a script supervisor does, we're basically like the editor's representative on set. We take notes, we're with the director, we work with the DP, director of photography, we write down everything that's happening, we keep eyes on matching things, on props, on wardrobe, on hair, all of these things. So we keep eyes on all of that. And now that's for a person who's seriously probably would be diagnosed with OCD, but it's also a career path if you might be on that spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my husband reading this book going, that is so not you, but that is me. So long story short, there was a friend who their script supervisor had just left the job or couldn't finish out the job, and she called me up, and she'd known me as a casting director, and she said, would you, have you done script supervising? Would you be available? And I lied and said yes. Ooh. And then I read that book back to back twice that weekend, talked to a few friends who worked in film, and showed up and nailed it.
Wow. Talk about go hard or go home.
Pretty much.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so that was how I kind of segued into becoming a script supervisor. Another thing that happened shortly thereafter, so this ex-husband, he and I were on a rough road at that point. He'd managed to lose his job just a few months after we got married. And so in the meantime, he had 2 children from a previous marriage, right? So I was working around the clock, 3 different jobs to pay for our life, and also so that he could write checks to his ex-wife for child support. So that made me kind of bitter, and so one of those jobs, though, which is rather funny, was working as a waitress at Julie's Supper Club, which was a thing back in the 90s. It was in San Francisco.
I have no idea what that is.
Julie's Supper Club was this hipster kind, hipsters weren't a thing back in the 90s, but it was this really cool bar south of Market. Bar restaurant, right? And, it played acid jazz, and, it's just a fun joint to hang out, right? So we had a lot of regulars. Anyway, so I was working there at nights to help make money for all of the things that we had to pay for. One table came in, massive table of people, like, probably 20 people, all one long table. And, the usual thing when you go up to serve someone, you're like, hey, what are you guys here for? What do you know? They're like, oh, we're on the set of Nash Bridges.
Wait a minute, don't tell me this is...
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So we just came from the shoot, and I said, oh, I'm a script supervisor. I'd done one job.
Right. Wow.
And they were like, oh, you need to talk to this guy, and so I did. I called, and they needed second unit script supervisors at the time. They didn't have enough, and the town still doesn't have many of us. There's probably maybe 5 of us that are legit, like, working in the industry, right? And so get on that. So once that's on the resume, the rest is history, Yeah.
I definitely saw like a long assortment of filmography on your IMDb, and I'm just like, I didn't know you were on so many different things.
Yeah, so 25 years of working as a script supervisor now. Yeah, and that was my humble beginnings. There's, some luck and some, some chutzpah.
Well, I know you said, I'm going to back you up just a little bit, because I know you were saying that you were trying to get into radio. What was it in radio that was drawing you? And then all of a sudden, just like, you were saying that theater didn't pay, but why was it radio first? What was the inspiration
When I
to
was a
that?
teenager, I wanted to be a DJ. You know, I
got
liked
it.
music. You know, I wanted to be a DJ. I thought my voice was good. I'd actually had an interview lined up with Radio New Zealand when I got back from Canada, and went to the interview, and they were like, and I was 18 at the time, and I don't know if you've heard 18-year-old voices. They don't have the depth and
I think I know what you're saying.
the
Yeah, yeah.
character that comes from having some life
Experience,
experiences.
yes. Mhm.
So they said, great potential kid, come back in a few more years. I'm like, time's ticking. I don't have a
Right.
view. I want to do something now, you know.
Right.
So, it was during that time that I was traveling on the ferry from the North Island to the South Island, and I met this woman on the ferry, and I just said, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I was good at drama. I was top of the class in school at drama. You know, I still would like to work on my voice to perhaps get my voice deeper.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that was sort of how one thing led to another with that. Yeah, there wasn't like there was a cunning plan. It just sort of was, you know, what's the saying? Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I know for sure you're very similar to me in the way that you're not a 9 to 5er.
No,
You know, definitely not a 9 to 5er, and I kind of want to show like what is it that drives you to be an independent, and like, you know, you do spin classes, all these different fitness things. You know, you teach speech. You know, and then you got a book coming out soon.
Yes,
And,
here it is.
Oh yeah, that's it. And you know, how is it that, you know, the artistry part of you and the businesswoman part of you are all amalgamated in there, you know?
I believe that, first off, I get bored easily.
Okay.
Okay. The second thing is I never felt like, you know, in high school I was good at drama, I was good at art. You know, my parents wanted me to be, you know, doing biology, chemistry, and I sucked at those things, you know. But they're like good, reliable jobs, you know. And the thing is that I truly believe if you're actually good at something, then you're going to be successful at it, you know. And if you love it, you know,
Yes.
more
Yeah,
importantly,
yeah,
if you
definitely.
love it, you know, then you're going to be successful. So trying to go down a path that's sensible would be like soul destroying for me. It just that wouldn't work. And I worked in media for a few years for a major medical organization, which is how I got the skills to become a media trainer and public speaking coach. I got in, I was working in the media department. Again, this was during that time that ex-husband I mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, again, I wanted to go with something that was a sure thing, job-wise, right? You know, paid really well. And then I think a couple of weeks after starting that job, my manager got fired, and they immediately just put me in her office, and I just had to figure it out. Well, we were training, part of the media department was to train these doctors how to go on camera. And I said, well, my theater background, I've already done casting. I said, send me to a couple of trainings, send me to a few trainings, whatever you need, so we don't need to hire outsource people. I could be your in-house media trainer. And so I made that work. But I have to say, it was still that job, the 3 years I was there, I felt every day doing a 9 to 5 kind of thing. I felt like an imposter. I really did. I just never... There's, you know, when you've come from working in theater and biking around the world for 5 years and doing whatever it takes to get by. And even when I was in New Zealand, I got a job running courses. Check this out. I was 25 at the time. After my 5 years of biking around the world, doing hodgepodge jobs, I hadn't held a job down for anything longer than 3 months.
Wow.
You know, maybe when I was in Thailand, I was English teaching, and I had a job for, maybe that was 5 months, right? Again, every time we ran out of money, we just work. But so I would, I got this somehow, I don't know, networked, somehow got hired to teach women who had been out of the workforce how to get back into the workforce. And here's me, I haven't even held down a job for like anything longer than a few months, and I'm teaching people interview skills, how to present yourself, how to get out of your comfort zone.
It's like the complete backwards of Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, but I was running the courses and I would line up teachers. And one of these courses, it was for women to get back into the trades. It was a really awesome program, actually. And I would line up teachers who were like, female mechanics, women who were engineers or electricians, and they would come in and lecture. And just give these women ideas about what they might want to do as a career once they're getting back into the workforce. Now, New Zealand is a social democracy, so they have a lot of programs like that help people, get back on their feet. Yeah. So it's really great. I mean, it was a good run. But anyway, so all of these things that I've done, there was really not, the thought of actually going and trying to get hired by a company, and having them look at all the things I've done, and they, I'm pretty sure they would just throw up my resume and toss it out, like, get out of here,
right.
because I'm a misfit, I there's nothing I've done that's like the regular path,
I'm right there with you. Okay, I'm right there with
Yeah.
you. I definitely. That's how life has been for me too. I've never. I mean, there's a couple of things where I've had a mainstay, but I've always kept looking on the side for something else. Yeah, because like you, if it doesn't make myself want to do it, if I don't have a passion for it, a love for it, I'm not gonna go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, learning myself a little bit more, I've found that like just following my happiness, and it automatically started putting me towards all of these different arts and stuff.
Yeah, you've been so inspirational. I've just been watching you blossom. Like,
Thanks.
just,
Thanks.
yeah. I mean, what you're doing is amazing. Yeah, and it means a lot to a lot of people. I mean, we need more stories of hope and inspiration, and instead of like getting pulled into what's going wrong,
Yeah, totally true.
Yeah.
And that's like I said,
Yeah.
I was, off camera a little bit earlier. That's the main reason why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
To engage people and let people know that everyone's a person and we play a real role in the real world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as much as a lot of people, I think, feel they're left out, they actually hold a piece of like in the not just in the physical, like we're energy there, but at the same time, it's like you're the only person that can use that energy in order to create the world that surrounds you, or and including the people that you're with.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I know. So that's why the 9 to 5 thing wasn't really
Yeah.
a career path for me, and some people just excel at it, and I think, to be honest, I think you have to be pretty thick-skinned to survive in the kind of industry I do,
Yes.
For instance, I just worked a job yesterday downtown, was with a celebrity. No names can be mentioned or I'll have to shoot everyone here.
Okay. All right.
But not that I own a gun, but strangle. Anyway, so working with this celebrity, and what was my train of thought? I completely had it right there, and now it's gone.
Oh, you were saying how. Shoot, I
Oh,
forgot to-
it was that interesting. Well, I can't quite fit into the. Oh, I realize now.
Okay.
I got it. I got it back. So, I had been, prior to having the job yesterday, I'd been 3 weeks with no work at all. I mean, I'm teaching fitness, of course, and public speaking, coaching, and that sort of thing, sort of more smaller stuff. But film set, commercials, Super Bowl spots, all of that. I'd had a super busy January, right? I had 8 different jobs, which is a lot of prep and long hours and this sort of thing. Really busy January. I was like, yeah, 2020 is off to a great start, and then February it's like nothing. It was like tumbleweeds going down the road of my life, And then,
Sometimes it's like that.
exactly.
Sometimes
And
it's
then
like
all of a sudden, I'd reached out to some of my usual peeps who hire me. I'm like, has it got anything? And one guy's like, no, nothing. And then 2 days later, he's like, hey, I've got a little thing. You want to, are you in? I'm like, yes, of course. And now, I've got another big, one of the big, cannot be named superhero
Okay.
features
That's fine.
coming up next week. So I'll be working on that and doing stunts and everything. So it's feast and famine, and most people can't hack it. They can't.
Yeah.
You go 1 week with no calls, you start to go, you know, is my deodorant working? You know,
Yeah,
right?
no,
You
that
just
that
not.
really goes to what you're saying about the whole being thick-skinned.
Yeah.
It's like I definitely had to learn that too, because if you're gonna take a person's criticism, knowing that, especially if you're doing like what I'm doing right now, stunts, this has really been a confusing time for me, because I didn't know if I'm even able to, or even like bring the level that they do in Hollywood. And you know, I'm lucky enough that the people that have been around me have already done, and I also can't mention
Yes,
things
exactly.
going on, and they've, they're on set and they're telling me that they can't wait to work with me, and I'm just like, hold up, that guy's a grandmaster in what he does. He's been in the game for over 25 years, and I better take his criticism, because if I don't, the rest of anything else that everyone else is saying, it might hurt me, So by accepting his, gracious offer of saying that I'm up to the level, I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm gonna dive in.
Yeah.
I got to.
And we all learn from each other, that's the thing. And we all have something to offer,
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard when particularly if we hold somebody in high esteem, it's hard to think, well, what, me? But yeah.
That's true. Okay, I got a story for you. This happened at the gym the other day. Right, I'm consistently in there. I'm training with my friends, and there's this guy. He's probably about 6'5". Right, 6'5". His shoulder, is probably like what I think looks like this in comparison to my own. Right.
Your shoulders are
Right.
pretty strong.
Okay, and so like for us in the fitness industry, he's benching 315 or 345 on an incline. Now that's super hard to do.
Yeah.
Right, and he asks me for a spot. I'm like, oh dang, I feel bad. I hope I'm gonna do this the right way, but I know all the rules. I'm gonna follow them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he goes up, and we do the lift, everything. I follow all the rules, this and that, and then he's like, man, I just gotta say, just the only reason why I pick you to do my spot. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, you're probably the second biggest person in the room. And I'm looking at him like, hold on, bro. His shoulder's like this big, but he sees me as that serious person when we go in, and but you'll never know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you're actually there and
Yeah.
they're sharing that information with
That's
you.
so great.
You know? So
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Pat on the back.
Take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it where I can get it.
Exactly.
I'm super, and this about me. I've always been a person who's very self-deprecating, and at times, especially when you were pushing me when we're on the business teams, and just doing things that are so out of my comfort zone. I could not believe that I'm even doing it. And then I think one of the proudest moments that I can remember was when Craig put me on the international conference call.
Oh, when we were building into New Zealand.
Yeah.
So for the folks at home who don't know what we were talking about, Ark and I actually met when we were doing a network marketing business together.
Yeah.
And I was one of his mentors in the business, and
super successful.
Yeah.
Grinding like.
Yeah. It was a business that I fell into because right after 9/11 .com bomb, the film industry just dropped out, and a lot of our work was with the .comers, and the bomb, and then all of this just tanked the industry. And so as a consequence, I was looking for something. A friend of mine who was a producer that I'd worked with, he lived in Los Angeles, and he told me about this business, and I was like, residual income, I'm in.
Yeah.
Because we all are looking for side hustles that will supplement what we're doing.
Right.
So that's how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And so we would have in this apartment. We would have
many times. A
many
lot of work has
times.
been done here.
Yeah.
And
calls to people. Hey, I've got something.
Yeah. To go back to where Craig put me on the call.
Yeah.
In that business
Yeah.
was like one of my proudest moments, because I've never talked to thousands of people at the same time. And then how at the end when they start to say like, thank you for the call, this and that, there was one of your senior vice presidents there going, how old are you? And he's just like, you sound like you've been doing this for years. And I was just like, oh snap, thank you, Andrea. We're in the door, like, just like you, it was kind of like barely my first gig on that such a big platform, and ever since then, I felt like I can talk to as many people as I want to.
Yeah.
And with this media right now, I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, people underestimate the business training you will get from network marketing, because
Yeah.
you're being mentored by people who are already successful.
Yeah.
And so it was invaluable. I know we were just before the cameras turned on talking about that and what a big difference it made for us. And also the people that came into the business with us. We've become lifelong friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
That's how we got here. And
Yeah.
for me, I like to celebrate my friends a lot. And there's oftentimes I see myself like, they're like, oh no, Ark, don't pay for that. I'm just like, well, what am I going to spend my money on then if it's not the people that I care about or like the people that are around me? Because like I think a lot of people see money as a marker of hierarchy, and like that sucks to me because like
it's very sad.
right?
Yeah.
I've known people who are in the streets only because they don't have those dollars, but some of them, like, they may not have anything, but they're sharing the sandwich that someone else gave to them with their friend that's also in the street. And I'm just like,
Like, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
When you're gone, when we're all gone. There's a great reminder where we're all souls with bodies.
Yes.
Not bodies with souls.
Right.
Souls with
Right,
bodies, and it's a humbling reminder because we get so self-important.
I mean, I think we feed into our ego at times that we need to, though.
Yeah.
Because if we're overly humble, and I had to learn this for myself too, it's like people won't pay attention because they think you're meek.
Yeah, you know what? It's true. And in fact, I was just thinking about that yesterday because I've got a client, and this is, with regard to my book, which is on public speaking. So I've got a client who is a former CFO for like some major companies and is a big, guru in the finance industry. And I was just thinking, I don't want to, for instance, Warren Buffett is like quite miserly in some ways,
Right.
which is how he amassed so much money.
Yes.
It's like he's very
I get that.
sensible about his choices. But at the same time, so I was trying to create a price point of what my rate was that would be, enough that I would be given respect for what I bring to the table, right?
Yes.
But not too much that they'd be like, yeah, I could get that somewhere else for cheaper.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
So particularly if you're dealing with a person who's very good at finances, so it was an interesting conundrum to go, I want to make sure my rate is right on track, but not over, And sometimes, and this was one thing I learned, I'm sure you have too, with working in indie features and low budget films, it seems the less you're getting paid, the harder you work.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
When my rate started going up, based on skill level and experience and so on, but I would, sometimes would have a hard, particularly as a woman, sometimes we have a hard time raising our rate and just saying, that's what I'm worth. You know what I mean? And when my rate went up, I would start getting better jobs and being treated with more respect.
Right.
So it's sort of one of those.
You are so right, because I've done a lot of free work already, and oftentimes it's just for me to get, the credit line or the buy line or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I got my first check off of someone, looking for something very specific and very much in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This guy, like, there was no question that he was gonna pay me.
Right.
There was like, okay, cool. Now let's. So how's the stipend for X amount? And in my head, I was like, I've never been paid this much ever for a scene.
Yes.
What, are you serious right now? Like,
and then you're like, wait, I can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, this is gonna be like that.
Yes.
But to them, it's an incredible feat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after that, I immediately was like, well, what am I doing? Why haven't I been trying to charge these people for the longest time?
Right.
And so ever since that one gig, it's just like, okay, to refer to this guy.
Yeah.
He's done my work. This is my references.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, now it's coming.
Do you think it was like for you partly upbringing or conditioning or, having your family be from somewhere else that had you feel like, I don't know whether I can charge that much or,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but you know, they kind of say in like the Asian or you know, eastern part of Asia is like you're very humble. You really want to serve and help all of your elders. It's almost like they're or you are part of their retirement plan in a way. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you forget about yourself,
Yeah.
and you become a subservient, you know, minion to what their plan originally was.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
totally, I can totally see that. And you know, a lot of those other friends that I know that are in college, and it's almost as if they're living out the dreams of what their parents brought them over here for, but in actuality, they weren't actually looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I can remember, you know, being told myself and my family is like, you need to be a doctor, lawyer, you know, or go to the military and all this other stuff. And then in my head, I'm like, but I just want to draw. I just want to make music. I just want to go dance. I want to play with these weapons. I want to go, you know, spar with someone. And it didn't equate in my head that was the exact route to go towards. It was like, this doesn't make any sense. You know, it's like you're trying to put a cube into a round circle.
Yes, yeah.
And it just it never worked for me. And you know, you get kind of trapped in your own head sometimes. You want to go down that path and kind of like, oh yeah, I'm making them proud. And again, we were just talking earlier, like the most recent part of what I've been going through is like realizing what your wants and needs and desires in life are, and what you really want to hold as energy around you. If it's not something that's gonna make your soul glow a little higher or like get stronger, why have it around?
Yeah.
You know, even if it's people that you love, you know, you can love them from a distance, you know, and they can know that. But if they're bringing you down, you know, you really shouldn't be around that energy, because now you're carrying a burden that person doesn't even know you carry when they're around.
Yeah.
You know, so they're going to continue to be the way they are, and you know, you're going to continually, you know, some people might even build up resentment towards it, and it'll ultimately continually weigh you down.
Yeah.
So, you know, like leaving a lot of people behind, and then when I say that, I got to put the air quotes on it, because it's not that you're leaving them behind. It's that you're aligning yourself with what you want to get happening in your life.
Yeah.
And those people are just like floating energies that you either bump into or you don't.
Yeah.
But it's your choice.
Yeah, it's not a mean thing. It's just, you know, live and let live.
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
Yeah. I know sometimes you do have to just move on. Yeah. I know it's funny because, and I bet you find this with working in the gym, and you're one of the, not the elders, but you know, a lot of people in that environment look up to.
Oh, yeah,
you know, and as a fitness instructor, I have that, you know, and I've been teaching fitness now 20 years, and it was really just something to do to bring in a little extra income. And also, if you've been going to the gym long enough, you get bored, right?
Oh,
so the next thing was I got recruited. You know, I'd been taking this kickboxing class, and then they were like, oh, you've got the right personality. You should take a course and you could be a teacher. We need more teachers. I'm like, you know, I took the course, and then I didn't do anything with it. And then next thing they're like, hey, when are you going to start teaching? We'll give you a few time slots, right? And the time slots I took were 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Because I thought 6 a.m., I'm not a morning person, just full disclosure. But I thought 6 a.m., no one's going to be there. Yes. You know, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, right.
So all these people showed. I'm like, what are you doing here?
And you're thinking like you're going to relax, right?
Yeah. So anyways, I had to deliver. But that was sort of how I got into teaching fitness. But the thing is that it was the accountability, right? The accountability of people expecting me there, that if it's just up to me sometimes, I won't want to go. You know, but if I know there's 30 people expecting me, I'm like, all right, I have to be there. So it's like built-in accountability.
Yeah.
And it's honestly the reason I've been able to stay fit all these years, these past 20 years of just building that into my schedule, you know?
I really like this idea, because I think I did the same thing. I'll schedule my people to be there at a certain time, and then I have to be there because they're going to go meet me.
Yep.
And then I'll have enough space in between the next person I'm going to go see that it's like, I might as well just
get your workout in. Yeah.
You got it. I'm already here, right?
Yep.
And so I kind of like tricked myself into working out all the time. But I learned to love it. And shoot, I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life right now. I can really say that.
Yeah,
You know?
I believe you.
Oh, you've seen me though.
I have.
You have
Yes,
definitely
yeah.
watched the evolution.
Yes,
Oh,
I have. Yeah. Well, as an instructor, and I'm sure you find this as a trainer, people are looking up to you. They want to hang out, and I have to really be choosy,
Yeah.
of who, who I want to spend time with and who I don't, and it's really about making very, you can, be friendly with lots of people, but I don't necessarily want to hang out with everybody,
Right.
On the other side of that is I've made some really good friends through being at the gym, just because we're all on the same mission, yeah.
At the same time, that's super true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like that too. Like, time is the only commodity we can never get back.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm willing to spend time with you, like, understand that, like, it takes a lot for me to sacrifice that time because I'm never gonna get it back.
Yeah.
But some choices are easier than others. Like, there's people that I just want to see every week or every day, but they'll be like, why you want to hang around me all the time? They've never asked that, but it's just like they give me life. They live. I see their perspective in life. I see what they feel, and I'm very empathetic. You've known that for a long time, and I just like being around that energy.
Yeah.
I can't not be around it. It's like your fix. It's like a fix of good attitude or good personalities, and I don't know. It's just the best. Sometimes it's just the best, and especially like you see an old friend that you've known for a while, and you're just like, yeah, like. Okay, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
This is I feel like everybody's done this at one point.
Okay.
Where you're sitting in the room and it's a really good friend of yours and you're just chilling, watching TV or whatever. You just both kind of like breathe at the same time, like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the soft side of just like, this is comfort.
Yeah.
This is no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I can really just not have to say nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have to impress this person. I don't have to like be something I'm not.
Mm-hmm,
And the silence is not awkward. The silence is like, we both are at peace in this situation. This is something we can do all the time.
Yeah.
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 Right.
That's
being
a good feeling right now. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about it.
just being with,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into this book. Part of this is no such thing as
Off the record. Yes. A survival guide for public speaking and media engagements.
Which is what we're doing right
Which
now.
is what we're doing. I know. I had to think about all the things that I tell other people about in order to be on camera, like wear colors and lean forward in the shots.
Yeah, no, definitely. For those of you interested in finding out about the book, I'll put links into it under in the description, and I'll link to myself too. And if you have more questions, hopefully you can answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a little bit about the book is there's 2 parts actually, because it's a different animal being on camera versus off camera. So there's one part is the media interview and all the do's and don'ts and dealing with reporters and all of that. And then the second part I built into was giving a talk or workshop, which would be, dealing with a live audience. So if you have to deal with one of those things or the other, you can kind of just hone in on that section. You know what I mean? But yeah, this was actually on my desktop when I was giving media trainings to these doctors, and then I ended up working on stuff with Media Alliance training, Caltrans employees and all kinds of people, people who had to go and represent their organization on camera, right? And so this was like a handout. It was just 6,000 words, a handout that I would give to people at the end of the workshop. Remember this, do this, don't do that. Anyways, a friend had written a book, and she'd worked with this company called Publishizer. And they help authors who've got an idea basically get a platform, get a page that is, they have a platform already kind of in the can. You have to do a video about your project or your book. You have to explain who does books like this, what's different about mine, what's it about, why would people want to read it. I mean, just really dive deep into it.
Yeah.
So having not even done anything at that point that 6,000 words was just sitting on my desktop in one format, right?
Right.
So I managed to pre-sell 250 copies, of which you bought one. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course.
And the book hasn't even launched yet. It's launching April 7th, right? So all the people who pre-ordered a copy, that money went toward, a third of it went to that platform, Publishizer, which was fine with me because on the desktop of my computer, it wasn't making me any money. Right? So I'm like, if you cause me to have to get this book out there and actually make it happen, which I know myself, I have to set systems in place. Otherwise, I'm lazy. So that system caused me to have to live up to, okay, I'm really going to do this, right? So third of what the sales went to Publishizer. The money that was turned over to me, I gave it to I had to vet all these different publishers who were all contacting me wanting to publish my book. They're like, great idea, let's do this. I'm like talking to all of them like, well, how much and what do you do and what don't you do? And, it was quite the process. That's why it took so long to get it done. Once I'd settled on a publisher, then came the hard part of like, oh, well, your books as is kind of pretty thin. Why don't you fill it out? Why don't you add more stuff? Tell us some stories about this? Because it was really just bullet points back then. So I took about another year of just, and of course I had like an extremely busy year in film production as well. So another year of just whenever I could get like the motivation to write and read over and reread and reread the reread. It was just nuts. I mean, by the time I finally turned it in, I was so sick of it. I was so sick of my book.
I feel like that's how some people who do music are. I feel like they're playing the same song over and over, and like some of my friends will be like, "Dang, I've done this song hella times. It's like still not catching on," or this and that.
They don't want to hear it one more time, but they rally because they're getting paid for it.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, now that it's printed, I love the cover. I feel like this choice sort of is reminiscent of the Dummies books.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Where that's computers for dummies or whatever. Getting a lawyer for dummies or whatever. And it's that sort of like attention grabbing thing. And that's really what the design of it is it's something you could read in 2 hours and come away with a lot more information about you should read this. Because this could elevate your and YouTube stuff to a whole new level. Like next week, you'll be
right. I didn't get it just to like set it on the coffee table. You know what I mean? Like
It's all these things that people don't even realize about. From either years as training as an actor, working on set with all of these celebrities, working with really amazing directors, working in casting, all of these things came together when I put this book together. So
and I think that's the best part about what you did with this, because like most people do not have that experience, and yet they're gonna speak on it as if they did.
Yes.
And you can kind of tell a lot of books that people don't really have the experience in, but they're just trying to make a buck on. And we've gone through a lot of those motivational speaking books, and I'm just like, oh, this is just regurgitated something from somebody else, said in a different way, because there's a difference between style, and then there's and how people deliver their words in comparison to like, I'm just going to say these words. I mean, obviously, that's even in there, too. Drawing from experience, I think, is probably one of the best things that you could ever do for any project,
yeah,
really.
Well, of course, yeah. What is the saying? Oh, I've got another nugget for you. In fact, you may remember this one. An intelligent person learns from their experiences, right? Intelligent person learns from their experiences. A wise person learns from the experiences of others.
Oh, yeah, I've heard. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's sort of like, for instance, you see people do dumb stuff, right? Like really dumb stuff. And they somehow, even though somebody said, don't cross the road at that moment because that's not going to be a good outcome, they still have to do it and then have the experience,
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you say that, I have you come across this thing called the cracked skull challenge or something? Or
The
the
Great Skull
yeah, and
Challenge.
there's like these kids are like making their friends jump, and there's two friends on the side, and then they kick both of their feet when they jump up, so they're falling down on the back of their head.
Oh my God.
And this is a real challenge, and I'm like,
That's
you guys are
awful.
idiots. You guys are gonna hurt people,
Oh.
And then now that a few of them have already popped off and they're
And
getting hurt.
there was some other thing with this laundry pod
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. Why would you eat something that's supposed to wash your clothes and
Oh.
then making it look like candy? Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it's just awful.
Exactly.
I know. And of course, teenagers are half out of their brains anyway. You know, they're just, the amygdala, the frontal cortex is like just, all the wiring's disconnected. It
Yeah.
takes like till age 25, I think,
Yeah, and I love how we
rewire.
say we're adults at 18,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I get
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
part.
Yeah. Here's your gun. You can go off and defend the country. But,
Yeah, but you
even
can't drink a beer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know.
So,
Crazy. Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the book, definitely am excited. I'm actually going back to New Zealand and visiting family later this year. Coincides with my dad's 90th birthday,
wow.
which I highly doubt he's going to be watching YouTube channels, but I'm not telling my family. I mean, my sister knows, but I'm going to show up on his 90th birthday.
Got it.
You know,
Got it.
happy birthday.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Everyone's like, don't give him a heart attack.
Right.
He's got a good, strong heart. He's good. You know, we have longevity in the family, so I'm planning that he's still, you know, going to be trucking along.
Yes.
You know,
And
yes,
like
yeah.
when I said earlier,
Yeah.
you're doing great. All the fitness stuff. And I just walked in, I'm like, you still look the same from when I last seen you. And you're awesome. You're an inspiration to me. I know the other people that was on our team. And you know, you're a person of conversation many times when like, oh, you remember when Andrea did? You remember when?
Medieval
And
forms of torture.
yeah, but I mean, they were the best torture. Actually, we had to go through it. We had to. But I do
Yeah,
want to
so
wrap it up.
I'm gonna take the book and launch it in New Zealand and Australia as well. So
Cool.
global, yeah.
I think we got enough to put you on another show one time. You know, in the future when you got some more
Sure.
stuff going on. I'm traveling around now and looking. There's so many other guests I want to get on,
Absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah.
I really thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
I know you were
Thank you.
fighting some nausea and all
Yes, I
that.
know. It's some like
And
Beyond Meat burger. I'm trying to go more plant-based, and it didn't sit well with me.
well, sometimes it doesn't.
But I
It's
rallied. Mind
right.
over matter, right? Mind over matter.
Yes,
You know all
yes,
about
yes,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
No, it was my
all right,
pleasure,
folks.
Ark. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank you.
Again, this is Master of Thought, episode 9. I want to say peace out to everybody. Shine on. Again, links in all the descriptions and stuff. I'll get you to know who this woman is if you want to know more information about her. Her book, again, is coming out. No Such Thing as Off the Record by Andrea Devaux. And shine on, y'all.